You know that feeling, right? That sudden burst of energy at 2 a.m. when you suddenly want to change the world, or at least finally clean out that garage that's been a disaster zone for 3 years. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, making grand promises. Tomorrow is the day. I'm getting up at 5 a.m., running 6 miles, writing my novel, and drinking a kale smoothie instead of a double-shot mocha. It feels amazing. It's like a free hit of dopamine. But then, the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., and suddenly, that superhero version of you from 2 a.m. is nowhere to be found. In its place is a sloth version that just wants to chuck the alarm clock out the window and sleep until noon. If you've been there, hit that like button right now so we know we're not alone in this war against the comfy pillow. In a small town called Oakwood, there was a guy named Ethan. Ethan was the walking embodiment of all of us in those highly motivated moments. He was a professional dreamer. He had a mile-long bucket list: become a top-tier coder, master Spanish, and get a rock-hard six-pack. Every day, Ethan spent hours watching hustle culture videos. He watched people climb mountains, give TED Talks, and scream at the camera, "You can do it!" And Ethan believed it. He'd shout in the shower, "Yeah, I'm a lion." The problem was, Ethan the lion usually only roared for about 3 days. On day 1, he'd wake up early, running like he was being chased by a grizzly, and coding until his eyes went blurry. Day 2, his muscles were screaming, so he'd slow down a bit. Day 3, it'd be drizzling outside, and Ethan would think, well, taking a recovery day is actually backed by science. By day 4, 5, and 6, the lion was back to being a couch potato, binge-watching Netflix. Ethan felt like a failure. He wondered why his willpower was so weak. Why did that fire die out as fast as a match in a hurricane? If you have a friend who's struggling like Ethan, share this video with them. This next part might be exactly what they need to hear. Also in Oakwood lived Ben. Ben was, well, he was kind of boring. Ben never posted grind set quotes on Instagram. He didn't scream in the shower. Ben just did stuff. Every morning, rain or shine, regardless of whether he'd stayed out late the night before, Ben's lights were on at 5:30 a.m. He ran the same route, sat at his desk at the same time, and read his books at the same time before bed. Ben was like a vintage Swiss watch, not flashy, but accurate to the second. After years of watching Ben level up, getting promoted, becoming bilingual, and looking like he belonged on the cover of a fitness magazine, Ethan couldn't take it anymore. One afternoon, he cornered Ben. "Ben, what's the secret? What energy drink are you on? What's the playlist? How do you keep that fire burning 24/7? Ben smiled, the kind of smile of someone who knows a secret the rest of the world has forgotten. He tapped Ethan on the shoulder and said, "Ethan, I don't have a fire. I don't rely on motivation. I rely on discipline." Ethan frowned, looking like he'd just been told the earth was flat. "But how do you even start without motivation? Isn't inspiration everything?" Ben shook his head. "Meet me tomorrow morning, 4 a.m. I'll take you to see my greatest teacher." Ethan winced at 4 a.m., but curiosity beat out the urge to sleep in. The next morning, while Oakwood was still buried under a thick fog, Ethan stumbled along beside Ben. They walked down to the riverbank, where the wind was bone-chilling. There, by the water, sat an old fisherman. His hair was silver, his hands were rough and calloused, but his eyes were as bright as the North Star. Ben bowed slightly. "Sir, my friend here thinks you need to feel like it to get work done. Could you tell him the story you told me?" The old man looked at Ethan, his gaze warm but sharp. He pointed to the dark, rushing river. "Young man," the fisherman said, his voice deep like the current, "see this river? I've come here at this exact time every day for 50 years. Through blizzards, through colds, through days I was heartbroken, I still cast my net." He paused to check his line. "Some days the net is heavy with fish. Some days I get a few minnows. And some days I go home empty-handed. But I never stop coming." Ethan asked, "But why? If you know there aren't any fish, why not just stay home and rest?" The old man laughed, the sound echoing off the water. "Because I don't fish because I like it. I fish because it's what I do. If I only fished when I felt inspired, my family would have starved decades ago. You see, motivation is like a flaky guest. It shows up for the party and leaves when things get messy. But discipline? Discipline is like a loyal spouse. It stays with you even on your worst days." Do you like that analogy? Drop a comment below. Are you team flaky guest or team loyal spouse? The old man then pointed to a large grove of bamboo near the bank. "Do you know the story of the Chinese timber bamboo?" he asked. Ethan shook his head. "A farmer plants a bamboo seed," the old man began. "He waters it, fertilizes it, and weeds the ground every single day. A year goes by. Nothing. The neighbors walk by and laugh. 'Old man, why are you watering dirt?' Year 2. Still nothing. Just dry, brown earth. The farmer keeps watering. Year 3. Then year 4. Still silence. At this point, even the farmer is exhausted. His motivation evaporated back in year 2. He's tired of hauling water. He hates the field. But, the old man emphasized, his eyes glowing, he still does it. That's discipline. He does it not because of some fleeting hope, but because he made a commitment to that seed. And then, in the 5th year, a tiny green sprout breaks the surface. The neighbors laugh again. 5 years for a little sprout? But they were wrong. Within 6 weeks, that bamboo rocketed into the sky, reaching nearly 100 feet tall. Ethan's eyes went wide. How is that possible? 6 weeks? Exactly, the old man nodded. But the question is, did the bamboo grow 100 feet in 6 weeks or in 5 years? Ethan thought for a moment. 5 years. Without those 5 years of care, those 6 weeks would never have happened. Correct. For the first 4 years, while no one saw a thing, the bamboo wasn't sleeping. It was growing a massive, unbreakable root system underground. It was building the foundation to support its own weight when it reached for the clouds. If the farmer had relied on motivation, which needs instant results to survive, he would have quit long ago. But through discipline, he created a miracle. Ethan stood silent. The wind was still cold, but a new kind of heat was stirring inside him. Not the flash-in-the-pan fire of motivation, but the slow-burning, steady ember of realization. He realized he'd been waiting for the feeling to start. He was waiting for a perfect day to run. He was waiting for inspiration to code. And since life isn't always perfect, he wasn't going anywhere. From that day on, Ethan changed. It wasn't loud. He didn't post any grand manifestos on social media. He actually deleted his time-wasting apps. He started building micro-habits. He used the 2-minute rule he learned from Ben. Instead of vowing to run 6 miles, he just committed to putting on his shoes and stepping out the door. Instead of vowing to read a whole book, he committed to 1 page a night. There were days Ethan was exhausted. There were days it was pouring rain. The voice in his head would whisper, "Just skip today. You can make it up tomorrow." That's when he'd remember the fisherman and the bamboo roots. He realized that the days he least wanted to do the work were the days his roots were growing the strongest. He started habit stacking. After pouring his coffee, he opened his laptop immediately. After brushing his teeth, he read one page. It became automatic. No mental wrestling, no waiting for the vibe. A week passed. A month. A year. People stopped hearing Ethan talk about big plans. They just saw him working quietly. The friends who used to shout slogans with him had all quit. They'd moved on to the next trend. But Ethan was still there, steady as a rock, like the old man's river. 3 years later, Ethan didn't become a tech billionaire overnight. He didn't become an Olympian. This story doesn't end with fireworks or $1 million check. But Ethan became a lead engineer at a major firm. He spoke fluent Spanish on a vacation he paid for himself. And most importantly, he looked in the mirror and saw a man he could trust. A man who, when he says, "I will do this," actually gets it done. One day, a young guy moved to town, full of hype and big dreams. He ran up to Ethan and asked, "Mr. Ethan, how do you get so much done? Where do you get all that energy and motivation?" Ethan smiled, the exact same smile Ben and the old fisherman had given him years ago. He patted the kid on the shoulder and said, "Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Don't wait to feel like it. Love yourself enough to do what needs to be done, even when you don't want to. That, my friend, is true freedom." The story of Ethan, Ben, and the old man isn't a fairy tale. It's the science of the brain and how we're wired. You see, life isn't a montage of high-octane movie moments. Life is mostly ordinary Tuesdays, boring Wednesdays, and exhausting Thursdays. Motivation cannot survive an ordinary Tuesday. Only discipline, that quiet commitment to yourself, can carry you through the dry desert of boredom to the oasis of success. The bamboo doesn't grow 100 feet in 6 weeks. It grows in 5 years. Your greatness is the same. It's not found in the moment you stand on the podium. It's found in the mornings you wake up while it's still dark. The times you choose work over scrolling your phone. And the times you keep walking when no one is left to cheer. Start building your roots today. No noise, no audience, just you and your consistency.